Okay, couple things on my bench. I got the Kyosho Inferno MP 7.5 Kanai 3 and the Jado 3.3. I absolutely love them, and the guy that I traded with had this. This is a Super Tiger airplane nitro engine. It's a .40. It's pretty big. I've already rebuilt it. I was thinking about selling it, but this would be perfect. I've changed the name of my channel to Nitro Revolution. I'd like to get more people to learn Nitro, to get into Nitro. It's not as hard as so many people may think. It's not hard. It's just you got to learn. That's it. So in this video, we're going to start off with rebuilding a pull start. So as you can see, let's move things off to the side. But with this, it's rebuilding a pull start and rebuilding 3 different carbs. A Traxxas 3.3, an OS slide carb, and a HPI rotary carb. And I may even throw in the Thunder Tiger carb. Yeah, I'll throw it in too. I'll throw this in too, even though you're never going to come across that with an on-road car. But with a pull start, there is going to come a time where you either break a rope or the spring comes out, and I actually learned how to put it back in all by myself, and it's not hard. You'll see you have a little hook right here, and it hooks into this plastic. And now once you get that hook there, all you do is spin. Wait, you got to get that in there. Start spinning the black and get the coil spring seated back in. That's all there is to it. Probably be easier with the coil spring up here and not down there. Yeah. I find it easier to use my thumb and just spin the part that goes over the one-way bearing, and you're just slowly but surely getting that spring put back in place. This is good if you don't want to spend $15 for a new pull start. This is very easy to do. This isn't the only step. You also have to get the this part right here into the back plate. I'm not really going to be able to show that very well, but I can explain it. The reason is because this one doesn't have a rope. This is off of my HPI RS4 Drift Nitro. HPI RS43 Nitro RS43 Drift. And yeah, the rope ended up breaking. I took it off, and I figured why not use this to show how to redo a pull start, how to rebuild one. So you just keep working your way around in circles. That's it. That's all you do until everything is seated back in place. And voila, that's back in place. Now what you're going to want to do is, inside of here, is a little circle with a groove cut out on one side. This little part right here goes into that groove. So you put it in like that, and you get it lined up. And then what you're going to need to do is grab, usually if you have a pair of no, not a pair, if you have a cord on this, you can do this, but you're going to want to grab only half of that coil and spin the entire assembly 360 degrees to put preload on the spring, because if you just put it like this, there's not going to be any tension on the spring, so there won't be any tension on the rope, but on the cord. But I don't have a cord in this one, so all I have to do is get that lined up and it's in place, and whoopsie, there is a rebuilt pull start. Very easy. I did run one of my Nitro TC3s, the one that's in one piece. They are way faster than my RS4, my Nitro RS4. Way faster, like way faster. I could gear my Nitro RS4 up a lot, because I was able to see what a little 15 motor could do. This is a 32. This is my new OS 18. This carburetor is a slide carburetor, but it has 3 needles. You have a low speed, the high speed, and the mid speed. Usually you don't mess with the mid speed. You just set it to flush and don't touch it. But you can mess with it if you want. Honestly, I don't like those. So now we are going to move to how to rebuild a carb. Very simple. This is a slide carb. I'm going to do an OS carb, which is a slide carburetor. The Traxxas 3.3 slide carburetor. If I had a Traxxas rotary carburetor, I would do it. I would rebuild it, but they all are very similar. So, first thing you're going to want to do is remove your high-speed needle. And for working on carbs, a tiny little crescent wrench like this that only opens up to maybe 1/2 inch works great on these little carburetors. So just break that loose, take your high-speed needle assembly off, and also the fuel nipple. And now at this point you can pull out your low speed needle. Okay. There's a O-ring that holds it together the rest of the way. There's a low speed. And now the idle set screw for the idle gap. Loosen it up, and then the slide itself will come out. And there you go. That is a completely taken apart carb, except for the idle screw, which you don't really need to take out. At this point, you can completely clean this with some nitro fuel, some WD-40, whatever you want to do. And then when you're done, just do the reverse. everything in reverse. The ball diff for my TC3 that I broke an out drive on will be here Monday, so I'll be doing a video on that. With the slide type carburetor, you have this groove right here. That groove is where the idle screw sits. It doesn't allow it to come out, and it also sets how far open or closed the carburetor is. So you have to line that up with this screw. Whoops, wrong side. Dummy. So get that back in there, line up that groove, because you don't want to start tightening things. And if it, don't ever force anything. So now, slides back in there, not going anywhere. Put the slide boot back over to seal it. Your low speed needle, put it back in. Or your low speed setting, this isn't actually a needle. And most of these, flush is the stock setting. And then your high speed. And voila, a rebuilt OS carb. Usually when I rebuild a carb, I pour nitro fuel through it. Usually old nitro fuel. I won't use nitro fuel like this that I'll be using. Just some that I usually have some Traxxas top fuel that I always have sitting around that I never use to run, but I use to clean things. I know that sounds horrible, but I don't like Traxxas top fuel. Ever since I've gone to O'Donnell's and I've tried O'Donnell's, Byron's, just Traxxas top fuel. Traxxas has a very good nitro engine program. I love their 3.3. I love their 2.5. And again, whoopsie, you're going to do the same thing with the 3.3, except you have these washers. Take off your high-speed assembly. But with this, you actually have a finger dial instead of a, with the OS, you actually have to have a flathead screwdriver. You have these two screws right here. This one right here is so you can position the high-speed needle on one side or the other. And this one right here, I'm not exactly sure what that one's for. The reason that O-ring is out right there is because this carb body is bad. But just like with the OS, you loosen up the idle. But with the Traxxas motors, there's an actual spring that holds it on place, and it already came off. There's a little groove that it rides in, and it pulls it shut. On other vehicles, like my OS vehicles, there is an actual spring that pulls the that physically pulls it shut. And so I'm not going to take the boot off this, but you can see right there, there's a spring. So that right there is a 3.3. The slide type carburetors are a lot simpler to rebuild. So again, just put the slide back in, tighten down your idle set screw until the O-ring, well, basically till it's flush. Yeah. Okay, grab that spring. Get that spring back over where it's supposed to be. You may have to rotate it some because there's a little cutout too that positions it right where it's supposed to be. Let's find where that's at real quick. Right there. So I need to basically spin it that way. And that way that spring is in there flush and it won't come off. Put your boot back on. And this seals the slide onto the carburetor body. Actually, I don't think I'm going to rebuild this carburetor. I've already done it once. It's just a rotary carb. And you build one rotary carb, they're all pretty much the same, except this one you have this really long high-speed needle assembly. So, yeah, it's just going to go back over to its home. So there's 3.3. Put your high-speed needle assembly back on. And remember, with these composites, don't cross-thread it. Don't tighten it too much or you'll strip it, because these are basically plastic. It's a good thing in some ways, but OS actually uses what's known as a thermal insulator that makes it so two pieces of metal don't touch. The carburetor, the metal of the carburetor and the metal of the block don't touch, so heat can't be transferred as easily. Heat will still be transferred, but not as easily. Okay, so those are slide carburetors. Now here's a rotary carb. Like all the others, start with your high-speed assembly. Go over to the throttle arm that actually rotates it. Pull out that screw, pull off the arm. These actually don't have a low speed screw. You have to run 20% in these, and even then I don't like these. I don't use these carbs because there is no low speed set screw. Usually it'll be right here, but there is none. But it's still a rotary carb, and they're pretty much all the same. With this, we just have that it can be set somewhat. Oh, duh. Okay, now at this point, you have your idle screw, and it's a Phillips head. You're going to loosen it, because that's how you're going to get your, and it's actually made so it doesn't want to come out very easily, and that this has been stripped a little, so I actually have to use a pair of needle nose pliers. That screw comes out. Out comes the rotary assembly, and out comes the low speed assembly. And this can be set a little, but not very much, because you simply just don't have many threads here. So just drop that back in. Put the rotary carb back in. You can see right there, you just have a hole. You have a cylinder with a hole in it. And again, you have a groove. That's where the idle screw rides to keep the, some of them are actually cut at an angle, so the whole, it'll move out, it'll sort of slide out like a slide type carburetor. Like this one right here, the Super Tiger. When I rotate it, when I open it, you can actually see it slides out some. And that's because it rides on right here. This is the idle set screw, the idle gap. And it actually not only rotates, but it slides out some. So yeah, just put that back in. You may want to push on that. With this, you're going to have gaskets. Older ones like this, you're going to have gaskets, not O-rings. So now I can put this back on, tighten it up. These are all metal. Make sure that that gap is, that groove is where the idle screw is. Whoa, don't want you to come out. And now you can just screw the idle screw back into place. It's open too far, but that can be done later. Put your high-speed assembly back on. And again, it has a gasket instead of an O-ring. Take your throttle arm. You'll have to position it correctly once you get it in the vehicle. You may have to take it out to get it positioned correctly, because it will just slide until you get it positioned correctly. But then you put the screw back into the assembly, put it on, tighten that screw up, and there's a rotary carb. So that's how you that's how you fix a pull start, a rotary carb, and a slide carb. So that's the video for today. Hopefully my camera will work with me. I will do a video of how to rebuild a OS 18. Just like every other motor, it's very simple. Nothing all that challenging. But everything's different. There's little differences with every motor. Like this one, the sleeve, instead of the sleeve, what that pin? There's a pin that comes up out of the block that it positions the sleeve at a certain way, so the ports are where they need to be positioned. So yeah, I'll do a video on that. I'll eventually do a video on this motor, the Super Tiger 40. GS40 is what this is. I'll tighten that up before I leave my RC room. But that's it. And one last thing I want to say is, when it comes to batteries, I use these. I use these in my transmitters. I use these in my battery boxes for my receivers. These are Energizer rechargeable. I will be getting a Kyosho Mini Z, and I'll have to find some high output AAA batteries. But as for a transmitter or a receiver, these AA's are 2300 milliamp hour nickel metal hydride batteries. 8 of them cost $20. 4 of them cost like $8. I can't remember exactly. My fiance picked these up for me today. 5 years. These are all I use. I'm not about to continue buying batteries when I can just buy these and have Where are you at? I have this right here where I can actually use my chargers to recharge my AA batteries, and I actually have 3 of these. So, and I have 3 chargers capable of doing nickel metal hydride batteries. So here I can just do 2 batteries per, because it holds 4 batteries. I mean 2 sets. And that will be enough batteries for a transmitter and a receiver, because that'll be most stuff you're going to come across nowadays is 2.4 gigahertz, and it takes 4 AA batteries for the transmitter and 4 AA batteries for the receiver. The JADO 3.3, it has regular batteries in it. Well, that's what these are for, to go in the JADO to replace those. But actually, I'm probably going to put this in, so I don't even have to fool with AA batteries at all. I have quite a few nickel metal hydride receiver packs, and this is 1200 milliamp hour 6 volts. 4 of these are 2300 milliamp hour 6 volts. So that's my tip of the day. Energizer 2300 milliamp. They may cost a little more, but you're not going to have to keep buying batteries every time they go dead. You can recharge regular batteries, but it's dangerous. They can explode. I've done it before, but they'll never get up to their full voltage again. These will. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Next time I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow. Today's Friday evening. It is 7:33. Tomorrow I will be getting Casey's Fortec, and I will be doing a live stream unboxing it and rebuilding the motor and seeing what's wrong, so he can watch that live. And I'll also go over my JADO 3.3 that I have now, and my Kyosho Inferno. So again, thank you for watching. Peace.